Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Simple Speak English. And if this is your first time here, my name is Mark, and I'm really happy you're joining us today, wherever you were listening from. Maybe at home, maybe in the car, maybe outside for a walk, or just taking a quiet break during your day. And today we're going to have a calm and simple conversation together.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lily, and thank you for being here with us. Because we know learning English is not always easy, and sometimes progress feels slow or even a little discouraging. So today, we just want to talk in an easy and natural way, like friends sharing a conversation, about why it's important to keep going and not give up, even when the improvement feels small.
Yes, exactly. Because many people think learning English means fast progress, big results, and perfect speaking. But in real life, learning a language usually happens in small steps, very small steps. And sometimes you don't even notice your progress until one day you suddenly understand more than before.
That's true. And I remember when I was learning another language, I felt stuck for months, and I thought maybe I was not good at languages. But later, I realized I was improving slowly every single day, just not in a dramatic way.
Yes, and that feeling is very common. And if you are listening right now and thinking, that's me, then this episode is for you. Because today we want to remind you that slow progress is still progress.
Before we start, we just want to say thank you to everyone who listens to Simple Speak English. And if you enjoy calm and simple English conversations like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment, because your support helps us continue making these episodes.
Yes, and we really enjoy reading your comments, especially when you tell us where you were listening from, because it reminds us that English learners are everywhere in the world, all learning step by step together.
So, Mark, let me ask you something. Have you ever wanted to quit learning something because it felt too slow?
Oh yes, many times, especially when I first tried learning guitar, because in the beginning my fingers hurt, the sound was terrible, and I felt like I was not improving at all. And I remember thinking, maybe this is not for me.
I think everyone sounds terrible at the beginning.
Exactly. But after a few months, something changed, and I realized I could play simple songs. And I thought, wait, when did this happen? Because I didn't notice the improvement day by day.
And learning English is very similar because people expect big changes quickly. But language learning is more like growing a plant. You water it a little every day, and slowly it grows.
That's a very nice example, because if you look at a plant every hour, you think nothing is happening. But after some weeks, you see new leaves.
Yes, and sometimes English learners compare themselves to others, and that makes them feel discouraged because they think that person speaks better than me.
Yes, comparison is very dangerous because everyone starts at a different point and everyone has a different schedule, different responsibilities, and different learning speed.
I remember one of my friends stopped learning English because she said, I am too slow. But the truth was, she was improving. She just didn't believe it.
And confidence is a big part of learning, because when you believe you are improving, you continue, and when you think you are failing, you stop trying.
So today, maybe we can talk about why small steps are actually powerful, even if they feel small in the moment.
Yes, let's talk about that. Because small steps reduce pressure, and when pressure is low, learning becomes easier and more natural.
For example, instead of studying English for 3 hours one day and then stopping for a week, it is much better to practice 10 minutes every day.
Exactly, because consistency trains your brain, and your brain starts to recognize patterns in the language.
And also, small steps feel achievable, and when something feels achievable, we are more likely to continue.
I think many learners make the mistake of waiting for motivation, but motivation comes after action, not before.
That's very true, because when you finish even a small practice session, you feel good, and that feeling creates motivation for the next day.
Let me ask you, Lily, what was a small English habit that helped you personally?
Honestly, listening to short conversations every day, even when I didn't understand everything, because slowly my ears became familiar with the rhythm of the language.
That's very important because understanding sound comes before speaking comfortably.
Yes, and I stopped trying to understand every single word, and instead I focused on understanding the general meaning.
That is a big change for many learners because trying to understand everything creates stress.
And stress blocks learning, especially for beginners.
I also think mistakes are part of small steps because every mistake teaches something.
Yes, but many people are afraid of making mistakes because they feel embarrassed.
I understand that feeling, but the truth is most people are not judging you. They are just happy to communicate.
And sometimes mistakes create funny moments that help you remember words better.
That's true. I once ordered something completely wrong in another country because I used the wrong word, and everyone laughed, including me.
And you never forgot that word again, right?
Never.
So maybe mistakes are not failures. Maybe they are memories that help learning.
I like that idea. Mistakes as memories.
Another important thing is patience, because language learning is not a race.
Yes, and social media sometimes creates unrealistic expectations because people only show their success, not their struggles.
Exactly. You see someone speaking fluently, but you don't see the years of practice behind it.
And that can make learners feel like they are behind, even when they are doing well.
So, if you are listening right now and you feel slow, maybe you are actually moving at the correct speed for your life.
That's a very important message.
Mark, do you think adults learn differently than children?
Yes, adults often overthink more, while children are comfortable making mistakes.
Children don't worry about sounding perfect.
And that freedom helps them learn faster emotionally, even if adults understand grammar better.
So maybe adults need to give themselves permission to be imperfect.
I agree, because perfection stops progress.
Let's talk about something practical. What are small steps listeners can start today?
One simple step is speaking out loud even when you are alone, because speaking activates memory differently than silent reading.
Another step is repeating sentences from conversations like this one, slowly and naturally.
Yes, repetition builds confidence.
And also celebrating small wins, like understanding one new sentence or learning one new expression.
Small wins create long-term motivation
I think many learners forget to celebrate progress,
because they focus on what they cannot do yet.
instead of noticing what they can do now that they couldn't do before.
Exactly.
I remember one listener wrote to us saying that at first they understood only 20% of our episodes, and now they understand almost everything.
That's a perfect example of small steps building big confidence.
And confidence changes how you speak, because when you feel relaxed, words come more easily.
Yes, anxiety blocks language.
So maybe learning English is not only about vocabulary, but also about mindset.
Definitely, because believing you can improve changes how you practice.
Mark, what would you say to someone who feels like quitting today?
I would say take a break, but don't quit, because rest is different from giving up, and sometimes your brain needs time to organize what you already learned.
That's very comforting, because many learners think stopping for a short time means failure.
Not at all, as long as you return.
Learning English is more like a long walk than a sprint.
And every step counts, even slow steps.
I like that image, walking slowly but moving forward. Because when you walk, you also have time to look around, to notice things. And maybe learning English is the same. You begin to notice small words, small expressions, and suddenly they start to feel familiar.
Yes, and familiarity is very powerful because at the beginning, everything feels new and difficult. But after some time, your brain starts saying, "Oh, I know this," and that feeling gives you confidence without you even realizing it.
I think many learners wait for a big moment, like one day suddenly speaking perfectly. But in reality, confidence grows quietly.
That's true. It grows in small moments, like understanding a joke in English for the first time, or watching a video without subtitles and realizing you understood most of it.
Or answering someone quickly without translating in your head first.
Yes, that is a big step, when thinking becomes more natural and less stressful.
Mark, do you remember the first time you felt comfortable speaking another language?
I do. And it was not during a lesson. It was during a normal conversation. And suddenly I realized I was not thinking about grammar anymore. I was just talking. And that surprised me.
That sounds like a very nice moment.
It was, and it happened after many small conversations that felt imperfect. So at the time, I thought I was not improving, but actually, I was preparing for that moment.
I think that is important for listeners to hear because improvement is often invisible while it is happening.
Yes, and sometimes learners feel tired because they don't see results immediately, but learning is still happening in the background.
Like when you sleep after studying, and the next day things feel a little easier.
Exactly. Your brain continues working even when you rest.
That's why being patient with yourself is so important, especially for adults who have work, family, and many responsibilities.
Yes, adults often feel guilty if they cannot study for long hours, but honestly, 10 calm minutes every day is much better than waiting for the perfect time.
Because the perfect time almost never comes.
That's very true.
I also think enjoyment is important, because when learning feels enjoyable, you naturally continue.
Yes, forcing yourself too much can make English feel like a chore instead of a tool for communication.
So maybe learners should ask themselves, how can I make English part of my daily life?
For example, listening to English while cooking or watching simple videos before sleeping.
Or even talking to yourself in English while doing small things, like describing what you are doing.
That sounds funny, but it really works.
Yes, because it removes pressure. Nobody is judging you.
And slowly your speaking becomes more natural.
I remember once I started thinking in English without noticing, and it felt strange but exciting at the same time.
That's a big milestone.
And it didn't happen because I studied harder. It happened because I stayed consistent.
Consistency is really the secret, not talent.
I agree. Many people think others are naturally good at languages, but usually they just practiced longer without giving up.
And they allowed themselves to sound imperfect for a long time.
That's something learners need to accept. Sounding imperfect is part of sounding natural later.
Yes, nobody starts fluent.
Mark, do you think is the biggest mistake learners make when they feel stuck?
I think they stop completely instead of changing their method, because sometimes you don't need to stop learning, you just need to learn differently.
That makes sense. Maybe listening instead of reading, or speaking instead of only studying grammar.
Exactly. Changing the activity can make learning feel fresh again.
And also reminding yourself why you started learning English in the first place.
Yes, maybe for travel, work, friends, or helping your children.
When you remember your reason, motivation feels more real.
I think many listeners of Simple Speak English are learning because they want to feel more confident in daily life.
Yes, to understand conversations, to feel comfortable speaking, and to connect with more people.
And that goal takes time, but it is absolutely possible.
Sometimes people ask me, how long does it take to learn English? And I always say it depends on how patient you are with yourself.
That's a very honest answer.
Because learning never really ends. Even native speakers learn new words all the time.
That's true. Language keeps growing.
So maybe instead of thinking about finishing English, we should think about enjoying the process.
I like that idea. Enjoying the journey instead of rushing to the destination.
And when you enjoy the journey, you don't feel like quitting anymore.
Because quitting usually comes from frustration, not from difficulty.
Yes, and frustration becomes smaller when expectations are realistic.
Slow progress is realistic progress.
If someone listening right now feels discouraged, what would you like to tell them directly?
I would say if you understand this conversation even a little, that already means you're improving, and you should be proud of that.
That's a very nice reminder.
And tomorrow, even 5 minutes of listening or speaking is enough to keep moving forward.
Small steps again know the way.
Yes, they really do.
Before we finish, we want to say thank you again for spending this time with us, because learning English is easier when you feel supported.
And if this conversation helped you feel more relaxed or motivated, don't forget to subscribe to Simple Speak English and share this episode with someone who might need encouragement today.
And tell us in the comments, what small English step did you take today?
Because your story might help another learner continue.
Remember, you don't need to move fast, you only need to keep moving.
Small steps build big confidence.
And confidence makes learning feel possible.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye everyone, take care and keep going.